Hi everyone, it's James, and I'm back again. It's been a few months, I think. I don't think I've spoken to you guys since I launched my website and made the video about that. And as you can tell, I haven't cut my hair since then either. Today, I just wanted to make a quick video about the release of the schedule for the 2025 Major League Rugby season that was released as I'm recording yesterday. I gave myself a little bit of time to digest what was going on because there was quite a lot of hubbub about it, shall we say. So, I'm going to start with the facts and then we'll get into kind of all the nitty gritty details and all the. It's something to do with MLR, so obviously there was a bit of controversy about that, and we'll get into it a little bit. Starting with, like I said, the facts. The games begin on Saturday, February the 15th, 2025. That's the weekend after the Super Bowl. I think it's probably a good idea that MLR isn't competing with the Super Bowl for opening weekend. Valentine's Day weekend. Don't forget about Valentine's Day, guys. Just rugby's the day. Rugby starts the day after. All right. So there will be 17 weeks of games, totaling 88 regular season games in total, running from, like I said, February the 15th through to June the 8th, 2025. This should mean that we can get the playoffs done and dusted before the July test window starts. And I'm pretty sure, I'm 100% sure that's why MLR are now starting a few weeks later than I think it was March 2nd for 2024, is to avoid that that July test window. And that's great. I mean, the July test window last year really impacted the momentum and the kind of excitement generated by a really, really good 2024 season to then essentially go for 2 bye weeks before the playoffs started to allow the USA Eagles and other internationals, Canada, to play their July tests and get all banged up and not play in the playoffs. Some players got injured. I know Sam Gola for the Dallas Jackals, RIP, was out for the playoffs because he got injured playing for the US. Mitch Richardson, also for the Dallas Jackals, got injured playing for Canada. It's just, that's the way it was. This way, we can be done and dusted before the July tests. Then Scott Lawrence can still have a decent prep time for all his USA Eagles to get a good run in for the July tests, which obviously 2025 is a Rugby World Cup qualifying year. They need to be at their best. So, as mentioned, the season begins on Saturday, February the 15th, kicking off with the Miami Sharks hosting Old Glory DC. So that's an Eastern Conference matchup we've got there. There are 3 games on that 15th, and there is overlap between them all. I think there's a game at 6 o'clock, 7 o'clock, and 8 o'clock Eastern Time. So there's going to be crossover. I mean, throughout the season, yet again, unfortunately, there's quite a lot of overlap, which is a bummer, but I mean, I guess what you're going to do. Another case of what you're going to do is the Utah Warriors have a bye week for week 1, which on the surface sounds stupid, sounds ridiculous. They've just had the entire off-season to rest up. Why do they need a bye in week 1? Unfortunately, that's just a consequence of there being 11 teams in the competition this year. You know, we can have 5 games, 10 teams, but there's always going to be an odd one out, and unfortunately that's the Utah Warriors. It's a shame for them to have to to lose one of their bye weeks before the games even start, but we'll see how they adapt to that. It's unfortunate, but it was always going to be someone. Of note to the Free Jacks fans is they start their second title defence in a row with 3 games in a row on the road, and actually I think 5 of their first 6 games are away. Now, initially I thought this was because the climate in New England isn't particularly great in February or March to play professional rugby, but then I looked at the Chicago Hounds, who kind of have a kind of similar climate. They play 3 home games in their first 5 games, so I'm not entirely sure what's gone on there. Maybe they want to give the Free Jacks a disadvantage. I don't know. As with most things MLR related, the release of the schedule sort of leaked some extra information that I'm not sure whether it was supposed to come out. First off, the San Diego Legions games were all listed as TBD rather than at Snapdragon, and turns out that certain season pass members, not all of them for some reason, received an email shortly after the schedule was released announcing that San Diego are moving back to Torero Stadium, which is obviously a much smaller venue than Snapdragon, It's where the Legion played their first few years in MLR, and it was actually the host venue of the 2018 and 2019 championship game. I've seen mixed reactions to this. Snapdragon was a new, big, shiny stadium, that world-class venue kind of thing, and they had, they got a taste of that before they're moving back to Torero. But I'm hoping that the atmosphere at Torero will be better in a smaller venue. Snapdragon, being so big, kind of felt a bit cavernous at times. MLR just cannot fill a stadium like that just yet. And it sounds like, to put Legion fans at ease, it wasn't really for any financial reason, although I'm sure it's cheaper to play at Torero. But the time slots that Snapdragon could offer weren't ideal, and so the Legion essentially sacrificed a bigger, shinier new stadium for better time slots to play games on, primetime Saturdays, for example. More on the topic of venues, and in fact staying in California, very shortly, pretty much at the same time as all the teams were releasing their schedules, so all the buzz was about the schedules and everything, Rugby FC LA just kind of slipped in the fact that they were moving from Dignity Health Sports Park to Wallace Annenberg Stadium, which is a 2,100-seater stadium within UCLA, and they will be playing 6 of their 8 home games out of that. Now, I'm sure many people immediately raise their eyebrows at the 2,100-seater, which is still kind of low for MLR standards. Yes, even for MLR standards. So we'll see if they can add if they're going to add some more additional seating or something there. I'm not sure. But LA did say that they would be playing 2 of their home games at to be announced venue, and I'm guessing I've seen some speculation already from Brian Ray, among others, that it would be Drake Stadium, which is the big stadium at UCLA, which would be cool. It should be very cool. I think they're hosting the New England Free Jacks there and the Cali Cup Clash game against the San Diego Legion. We've got to remember, although a team has been in LA before, Rugby FC LA have not. They've been there for a year. They're still kind of trying to establish themselves. At least with this, they get to use UCLA's facilities. It's a world-class school and a fantastic rugby program. Shout out to Harry Bennett, and we'll see where they go. Finally, on the kind of the venue news that were kind of leaked by the release of this schedule, there were 2 Anthem games that were listed as not at the American Legion Memorial Stadium, but at the Mecklenburg County Sportsplex in Matthews, North Carolina. I don't really know a lot about it, but Brandon Sparks did confirm on Twitter that one of these games was to coincide with the Carolina Ruggerfest, which is fantastic. I mean, that's a professional team supporting a local rugby event. We love to see it. We want to see more like that. Great work, Anthem. Now, we come on to the controversy surrounding the schedule release. As I mentioned at the start, a lot of the schedule was planned to avoid the July test window. As a result, the length of the regular season has been squished from 18 weeks to 17 weeks in 2025. We essentially have a round of games and are now going to be taking place throughout the year midweek. There are 7 of the 88 regular season games that will be played on either a Monday, a Tuesday, or a Wednesday. Only the Miami Sharks are lucky enough to avoid a midweek game. 4 teams actually play two of them. Rugby FC LA, the Utah Warriors, Seattle, and the Chicago Hounds will both be playing 2 games on a Monday, Tuesday, or Wednesday. I'm thinking the intention of this was to essentially try and squeeze in an extra long rest throughout the season, because it looks like a lot of teams are missing a bye week. Some teams only list 1 bye week, for example. And if you're playing on a Saturday and then you don't play until the following Tuesday or Wednesday, then you get essentially 9 or 10 days off. I think that may be the logic behind that. The only issue there is when it comes to the other side of that extended rest, and you have 2 or possibly 3 games in a really short time span. I've got a couple of examples listed here. In round 11, Anthem hosts Seattle on a Wednesday night, April the 23rd, Wednesday. Anthem then fly to Miami to face the Sharks on April the 27th, 4 days later with a flight. The Seawolves who were the road team for that Anthem game. They play Anthem on the 23rd, like I said. Then they fly on to New Orleans to play the Gold on the 27th again. Rugby FCLA probably have one of the worst cases of this, is they face the New England Free Jacks on Tuesday, April 22nd, the day before this Anthem and Seattle game. They then have to get on a plane and fly back to LA from Boston, 2,500 miles, to host the San Diego Legion for their on the Saturday. So that's 2,500 mile flight, and you've got to prepare for a professional rugby game within 4 days. The Legion have to travel 100 miles down the highway. That sucks. And it makes it worse when you consider some of these teams that play, they could play a game on a Tuesday, then a game on a Saturday, then a game on the next Saturday. So that's 3 games within 11, 12, 13 days. And for all the criticism MLR gets about the quality of their play, it's still a professional league. And unsurprisingly, as a result of these games kind of getting crammed in and the recovery time getting really, really close to not allowed by World Rugby standards, the USRPA, the United States Rugby Players Association, and their bargaining unit, the Major League Rugby Players Association, the MLRPA, released a statement. And I'll try and put this statement up here. They're basically saying there's not enough time between games. You're jeopardizing player welfare here, and you're not giving the players enough time to recover from a high-level professional game before they have to play another high-level professional game. There's not enough time here. It's not looking good. What's really weird about their statement is it says the players were not consulted about this. And I just find it bizarre that Major League... Well, you know what? I'm not actually surprised that Major League Rugby didn't consult the players. I am surprised that a professional league didn't consult with their players about, is this okay? Or at least going, we're doing this before it was released to the public. At least then they could have had this sort of, I don't want to say argument, but this kind of debate in a private setting rather than on social media for all the fans to see. I've seen a load of fans excited for the schedule to be released, only to then realise, am I going mad? Is that a midweek game? I've thrown a couple of examples up here. There's a couple of cases that on the schedule that the MLR released officially, where certain teams are playing 2 games in the same match week because of this kind of cramming schedule. Fans then realise, hold on, there's midweek games. That's kind of annoying. And then the MLRPA released this statement, and they go, oh yeah, actually this is crap. So yes, there was the excitement of them releasing a schedule, and yes, we are still going to have a season. Don't worry about that. MLR, I understand what they were trying to do, but to not consult your players and to just kind of hope you get away with it is ludicrous. I want them to skip the July test window, but I don't want them to do it at the expense of player welfare. Now, I don't really know what the solution is. I know, again, Brian Ray suggested that the July test window, the US and Canada could play 2 tests and then play a one-off USA versus Canada test outside the window. That would give MLR another week. Maybe that's a solution. I'm not sure. I'm not entirely sure on how the test window works. I'm sure they will find a solution. You may well get another video from me in like a month when I'm going over a completely new schedule. I know it happened last year, and it's just... it couldn't be Major League Rugby without some kind of controversy about anything they do. Anyway, I'll stop waffling on now. Let me know your thoughts in the comments. Do you think midweek games are a good idea? Who do your team play in the first week, and are you happy about it? Which games are you going to be going to? All of that stuff. And as always, you can find me on social medias at MLRstats or at JAMDELAY. I've recently hopped off of Twitter/X and started to post to Bluesky as well. So find me there at NARDB or at JAMDELAY. And at MLRstats on Instagram. I will probably incorporate this video into an NARDB article about this. So if you're watching from my own site, how you doing? And let me know your thoughts on this topic. I know everyone's excited to get the season underway. I know we've been waiting a while, but we might have to wait a little bit longer for an actual schedule.